Awesome. And now I have a short demo for the secondary proxy work. Yeah, so I've used the GT1 key environment with Geo setup, and I'll share my screen. Um, so essentially on the secondary, as per the rollout issue, I've enabled workhorse environment variable geosecondary proxy, and I've also enabled the feature beforehand, the feature flag. I've used um, just two random domains, primary.cat test and secondary. I just pointed them to the IPs explicitly in /etc/hosts just to make it clear. So now they are each pointing to each site's IP address. And if we go there, I'm going to use incognito just to make sure there is no existing cookies or anything. Uh, I think I was here before. Not sure how I was logged in on incognito. Uh,
There's also a large
again,
black box on the right side.
yeah, let me minimize that. I think that's Zoom. Sorry about that. Yeah, okay. So this is essentially the login screen. However, it's the regular login screen. So it's essentially proxying authentication to the primary. Um, I'm authenticating here. I'm now logged in using the secondary domain, and I actually see the content proxied through the primary. So if, for example, I go to a project, I can create an issue doing any write operations through this secondary. If I need to go to a specific geo page for this secondary, let's say the geoadmin page, we're going to see it from this geonode's perspective. So this won't be proxied to the primary. And then we can also access the primary as usual. So that
Cool.
is with two separate domains. And now we're going to try to make this work with one single domain for both the primary and the secondary. This will, I'm just going to point them both to the same IP here, which is IP of the secondary, just to make it clear. And then I'm going to
Okay, so
reconfigure.
for the non-technical folks like me, what you're doing is you're taking these external IPs, which are your GCP instances, and you're internally mapping them to these names on your hosts,
Yeah,
so that you can use them in the browser. Is that correct?
yes.
Okay.
Actually, just before I do that, let me also change the node URL in the UI. Just to mention that the secondary is going to be located at the primary URL. So I'm going to use the same semi-external URL for both, and that will be primary .cat test. And now changing them to be both on the same URL. The reconfigure happened, and oh, sorry, I stopped the screenshot by mistake. Where is Zoom? Okay, back now. Okay, so now I'm opening incognito again, going to primary.cat test, which is now my single URL for both instances. Um, probably still need to wait a few seconds for it to come back up. Okay, so it's now back up. Logging in. Now I'm logged in on primary. which in my case, we know that we've pointed it explicitly to the secondary IP address. So this is basically using the primary URL, but going to the secondary directly. This is essentially how, let's say, a load balancer would redirect specific traffic only to the secondary. So again, this would act like the primary. We can go to a project, we can create an issue. But then also, because we know we are on a secondary, because we pointed it explicitly to here, when we go to admin and we go to geo, for example, we're going to see the authorization happening, and then we'll see the geo-specific secondary page for this one.
Amazing. It just worked.
Cool.
It's so boring because it looks so normal.
Question: Why do we see the authorization happening there if you visit the?
Yeah, because this page is not proxied through workhorse. So when we access this page, but the authorization never happened before, we don't have a cookie for the secondary site. So
Okay,
we need
so
to
it'd only
do
be
the actual authentication again. Yeah.
Okay, so it'd be on the first time that you.
Yeah. Afterwards, if I refresh it, it won't happen again.
I think we should change the messaging on top, because like instead of saying this is a read-only geo site,
Yeah.
say this page is not accessible here, something like that.
Okay, so it's weird because it feels very anticlimactic, but essentially the state now with this, like once these two MRs get merged that are outstanding, right?
Yeah.
Is that we do support secondaries with a separate URL, which is kind of the status quo as it is for all of our customers, because that's what they needed to use. But if they actually switch to a single URL for everything, it just works as well. So with this change, we've essentially eliminated the read-only web interface. And it's now gone. And now to a regular user who is not an admin and who will not be able to see the node screens, they won't know the difference, but they will actually get, served by the secondary at that moment in time.
Yep.
So it's fully transparent, essentially.
Correct. Yep.
Cool.
Awesome. I'm gonna stop sharing.
Cool. Thanks so much for the demo. I will stop recording now.